So you've hit your approach shot just short of the green, leaving you that awkward 30 to 80 yards. Now, it's an awkward shot, isn't it? A lot of my students struggle to strike it. They struggle with distance control. It often makes them quite anxious. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can make solid contact with pitching every single time. And I'm going to show you how you can control your distance. I'm going to give you a little system to do that, and it's really, really simple. Now, before I do, look, if you're new to the channel, it's been your first lesson of mine, please consider subscribing. I release videos like this every single week to try and help you improve your game. Plus, as always, you never have to remember a thing. Whatever I teach you here, I'll put into a free downloadable practice guide in the description box below. So I've got 60 yards to go here, which I'm just going to pick out my 56-degree wedge. And the first thing I want you to recognize is this, a lot of times when people are pitching, what they do is they try to kind of do a miniature version of the full swing. And if you do that, a full swing is completely different swing mechanics. It's all about power. Pitching is all about control and finesse. So let me show you what I mean. So a full swing mechanics, we're winding ourselves up here, the lower body leads, followed by the torso, followed by the arms. The last thing to come in is going to be the club, because that explodes. That's what gives you that kind of launch and power. You don't want anything like that in your pitching. In pitching, notice my stance. Everything is a bit smaller, narrower. When I swing here, actually the first thing to move on the way down is my head, the club head, not my body. And everything as I'm coming through is just calmer. As I'm coming through here, the club, my hands, my stern, everything is calm going through the shot. So that's the first thing to recognize before we start talking about strike and distance control, is that the action of pitching is one of calmness, not hitting it super, super hard and out of control. If you do that, look, we'll start, go on. Oh, almost in the hole. So calmness is the first thing. Once you've got that essence of what pitching is, right, then what we'll do now is we'll start to look at the strike. So how do you get a great strike every single time? Well, before we get into that, what do you notice? The flag has changed. I think they saw my first shot and thought that flag position's too easy, and they stuck it in this corner a little bit. It's still 60 yards, so we're okay. So strike, you need to know three things, okay? And I gave this to a student of mine, John, this week. John was really inconsistent with his strike. Basically, you've got to control three things. You have to control where the club lands, how it lands in terms of how deep the club goes. Are you actually even landing the club on the ground? And the third and final thing is where does that ball contact with the face? Now, a lot of times there's so much information that they're telling you how to do this in real detail, but with John, he doesn't have a lot of time to practice, and I gave him some things he can take straight to the golf course, and that's kind of what I want to do for you. So you've got this kind of calm kind of motion. It's not miniature full swing mechanics, it's a very calm mechanics, okay, very calm swing. So I got John simply to look where the ball was here, and I got him to make some swings. Stage one was, can he land the club in line with that golf ball like I'm doing now? Now, what do you think happened? John was sometimes landing it there, sometimes landing it here, and sometimes landing it here. He was very, very inconsistent. And I said to him, right, John, you just have to build that skill, that awareness before you start hitting loads of golf balls. Because, if 1 minute is bouncing here and next minute here, of course you're going to be inconsistent. So build the awareness and the skill just to simply practice landing the club on the correct spot every single time. Once you've done that, now what I want you to do is have an even amount of ground interaction. I don't want it 1 minute going deep and the next minute not hitting the ground. So just do a few practice swings before each shot, just landing it on the spot and getting a nice consistent ground contact. It's nothing more complicated than that. What's super clever about this is, and it'll be the same for you, your body's really smart. It will make the subtle adjustment automatically without you having to tell it. So when John started to strike the ground behind the golf ball, I didn't tell him this, he started to move his weight more forward in order to strike the ground when he needed to strike it, okay? Without any instruction from me. This is the beauty of this exercise. So once we've got him doing that, the final bit was this. So if you want to get really good at pitching, you've got to get good at striking the ball in the right place with the right part of the golf club. Okay, so we want to strike that ball just below the equator with roughly around about the 4th or 5th groove in this club. So all I got with John to do, and I want you to do the same, is simply this. Just look at that point at the club and look at it and go, right, I am going to try to make that point connect with that part of the golf ball. Simple as that. Now think about it, right? If I'm up here and I hit with this part, that's going to give me a top shot or a thin shot, okay? But if all I'm going to do is the aim here is to kind of get this section striking the golf ball, what do you already notice with the club here? I've got a little bit of lean of the shaft, which is going to help that club look strike that golf ball. So just looking at the face and thinking, right, I am going to look at that face now and imagine striking that ball at a certain spot. Now, I'm not going to worry about distance control yet. I'm going to look at the face, look at the ball, and see if I can make connection with just below the equator of that golf ball. Again, I'm not too worried about distance control at this stage, all right? That's going to help you develop a really beautiful strike. Now, of course, the chances are you're not going to do this straight away. You're not going to get perfect strike immediately. But what you've got now is a simple task, not a checklist of loads of things to do, just a simple task of looking at the face and thinking, what part of that ball do I want to strike? If I want to get the ball going higher, I'm going to strike lower down on the equator. If I strike lower down on the equator, that ball's going to pop up a little bit higher. So now I'm going to go a little bit lower. I might even, look at this, I'm already moving my ball forward. Why? Because that's going to help me, strike lower down in the equator. If I want to play the ball, hit a lower shot, I want to hit higher, up, maybe on the equator. Now look what I do. Naturally, look at this. My club goes this way and this way. Higher on the equator, lower on the equator. I'm not having to remember this, it's just naturally happening, all right? So, get the strike down. Low point, depth control, contact with face. I promise you, it'll be hugely, hugely valuable. Now let's focus on distance control. So the final stage is distance control. You've already halfway there, you've got your strike, okay? Now I've got 56 here, I've got 60 yards to go. What I'm doing is I'm choosing a club that doesn't require full swing mechanics, doesn't require me to snatch at it or hit it hard. Remember, I want calm motions, okay? So there's the first thing, I'm swinging long enough so I don't have to snatch it. The other thing I'm doing, I mentioned earlier, I'm imagining as the club is coming down here, okay, the club, my hands, my body are all working at the same pace, what feels like the same pace together through the impact area. I'm not creating one motion where the club's lagging behind and then I have to suddenly snatch it. This is the sensation. This is how you control distance, okay? So one, I'm swinging long enough so I don't have to snatch it. If I've got a short swing, I might snatch it. I'm swinging long enough so I've got the pace. If that length doesn't get me to the flag, I would go from 56 to maybe a 52-degree wedge or even a pitching wedge. But I always choose a club that allows me to have the rhythm, okay? So I get myself set here and I'm just swinging at a pace which allows me to hit 60 yards. I don't do clock systems and all that kind of stuff. It's much more of a feel thing that I've developed and I want you to do the same. So nice and simple here, look, back, through, and there we go. Nice and simple and repeatable, okay? So pitching, just keep it simple. Land it on a spot, control the depth, trust that your body will gradually start to work this out, all right? Very, very important. And then get that contact, just focus on contact. Face on ball, nothing more than that, okay? And then make sure you have this lovely, calm motion. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see a chipping video to go along with this, simplicity, okay, at its best, hopefully, click this video right here. And of course, look, there's a free download practice guide in the description box below. But until next week, have a wonderful golfing week.